In the wake of President Donald Trump's aggressive tariff policies, which have imposed levies on a broad spectrum of imports from countries including China, Mexico, and Canada, global trade dynamics are undergoing significant shifts. These measures, ostensibly aimed at protecting U.S. industries, have led to increased cost and uncertainties in international markets. Saint Lucia, heavily reliant on imported goods, finds itself particularly vulnerable.
How it
Recognizing the
plans to
potential
spend
economic strain,
and
Brian
where it
Louisi,
expects
Executive
revenue to come
Director of
from.
the St. Lucia
We look
Chamber of
forward.
Commerce, has emphasized the importance of proactive measures.
The Saint Lucia Chamber of Commerce is actively participating in the work and the dialogue being led by the Caribbean Private Sector Organization, who has had a host of meetings on the subject of the tariffs, as well as discussions of CARICOM. But a lot of focus has been paid to the U.S. Trade Representative issued a China ships policy, and CPSO did make an intervention at the hearings. And so we are paying close attention and working with our regional counterparts as we monitor and evaluate the situation to see how our businesses and our economies will be impacted.
Louisi highlighted that possibly one strategic response under consideration is a diversification of supply chains with a focus on Latin American markets. Such initiatives present opportunities for Caribbean nations to establish more resilient and diversified trade partnerships.
We spoke to the need for people to look at their supply chain and to diversify, and we suggested strongly that Latin America would be an ideal area to look at. And so we're seeing that there are more attempts to examine the possibilities of trading with places like Santo Domingo, looking at Mexico, looking at Central America, to see how we can reduce the exposure to the U.S. as our primary source of goods and services, as they may be impacted by a very unclear and shifting U.S. policy that is throwing quite a bit of concern and confusion, if I may put it that way, in the trade policy and international trade environment.
In relation to shipping logistics, Louisi further emphasized that Mexico is actively working to expand and develop its ports to better facilitate cargo movements to the Caribbean. This development reinforces the urgency for St. Lucia to not only diversify its supply chain, but also to strengthen ties with new trading partners across the Latin American region.
Mexico has actually started deliberately developing its Caribbean ports and states so that they can now open up to shipping to the Caribbean. So we have to look at that as well. We also would recall that we had one of the representatives from Export Brazil, who spoke about the fact that the highway built between Brazil and Guyana offers an opportunity for us to buy goods manufactured in Brazil and shipped via the highway to Guyana and then onto the Caribbean. So the Chamber's message is simple. We need to be constantly looking at diversifying and strengthening our supply chains through diversification. So yes, looking at Mexico, looking at Latin America is something that we need to continue doing.
For Tourist News Now, I am Kishana Smith.